I woke up this morning and decided, on a whim, that today I shall have an MRI. A bold choice, a whimsical journey, because who among us has not awoken on a crystalline Wednesday morning and thought, I simply must get inside a giant magnetic tube that howls like it's trying to exercise my skeleton? Because this is how MRIs work, right? Like a loyalty card, order 5, get the 6th free, just strolling into radiology like, hey babes, surprise me, dealer's choice. Perfectly normal behavior, especially, apparently, for the president, because this is the reality Donald Trump expects us to swallow. The idea that he just had an MRI, just boop, an MRI. No idea why, no idea what part of his body was involved. On Sunday, he said, I have no idea. It was just an MRI, and it wasn't the brain, because I took a cognitive test and I aced it. Little buddy, the cognitive test you keep bragging about is a dementia exam. Passing it is not an achievement. It's the neurological equivalent of congratulations. You didn't eat glue today. Reporter, what part of the body was the MRI looking at? Trump, I have no idea. Not a clue. Not even the faintest suspicion of which appendage entered the $1 million magnetic tube. And weeks ago, Carolyn Levitt insisted he received only advanced imaging and remains in exceptional physical health, which is one interpretation of a man who looks like he's being operated by remote control through a series of frayed extension cords. And just the other day, she upgraded it to a preventative MRI, as if MRIs are seasonal offerings right next to pumpkin spice colonics and cranberry bliss labiaplasty. A preventative MRI, because they think we're fucking stupid. But let's revisit the brain. The idea that anyone would dismiss a brain MRI in his case is the funniest part of this entire fairy tale turned medical horror show. This is a man whose cranial landscape is less organ of cognition and more intellectual skid row. Inside that gilded skull is the cognitive gangbang of confusion, ego, lies, and erectile insecurity. The cortical motherboard sizzles like a cursed relic. The entire operation is run out of an internal call center staffed by 3 disgruntled possums on a smoke break. But sure, not the brain. Meanwhile, we're supposed to pretend it's fine that the President of the United States cannot recall what body part doctors shoved into a machine that screams like a demon trying to escape a steel coffin. We deserve to know. Because here's what we can see. No MRI needed. His posture has given up completely, collapsing like a lawn chair at an all-inclusive resort during free margarita hour. He forgets names and places like his brain outsourced memory to interns who stopped showing up. He falls asleep mid-question like his brain hits the fainting couch and demands smelling salts, lurching and slurring like a shopping cart with a busted wheel on black ice. So forgive me for assuming the MRI might reveal something less perfect and more haunted electrical panel. Meanwhile, these same people insist Joe Biden signing documents with an auto pen is a constitutional crisis. He didn't know what he was signing. Okay, Joe Biden used an auto pen. Donald Trump doesn't know what part of his body was shoved into a physics tantrum disguised as medical equipment. If we're doing equivalencies, only one of these men misplaced his own anatomy. And until Donnie tells us the truth, I'm going to assume the worst, because if the president can't remember what happened to his own body in a medical procedure, the country damn sure deserves to know why. Tell us the truth or don't complain when we diagnose the whole situation as fucked, with a prognosis of terminally, irrevocably fucked. Because if he can't remember what the hell happened to him, he sure as shit shouldn't be trusted with what happens to us. Today, we're talking about this never-ending shit show with former Capitol Police officer and my dear friend, January 6th hero, Harry Dunn. Harry is here to talk about accountability, truth, and what makes a good holiday pour. But first, well, we're knee-deep in holiday season, which of course means it's also time for the dreaded what gift could I get someone that doesn't suck? Well, here's an idea. Get them a gift that will keep the memories of good times and loved ones right in front of their faces all year long. I'm talking about digital photos in a beautiful Aura frame. When you buy someone an Aura frame, you can load unlimited free photos and videos. Just download the Aura app and connect to Wi-Fi. Super simple. Plus, you can even preload your photos before they ship the gift. And you can keep adding from anywhere, anytime, right from your phone. Plus, you can personalize your gift by adding a message before it even arrives. And every frame comes packaged in a premium gift box with no price tag. You can't wrap togetherness, but you can frame it. It's definitely a holiday win. For a limited time, save on the perfect gift by visiting auraframes.com to get $35 off Aura's best-selling Carver matte frames, named number 1 by Wirecutter, by using promo code JOJO at checkout. That's AURA frames.com, promo code JOJO. This deal is exclusive to listeners, and frames sell out fast. So order yours now to get it in time for the holidays. Support the show by mentioning us at checkout. Terms and conditions apply. You know, holidays are a great time for gathering with friends and family, but with that comes the dreaded, did I just add 10 pounds? And I'm sure you've heard that GLP-1 drugs are all the rage for people trying to lose those few pounds and or sharpen their focus. Well, that may be okay for some people, but not for me, because they're not an all-natural solution, which is what I want. So that's why I'm so happy that Veracity is one of our partners. Veracity's drug-free, clinically proven, and doctor-formulated solutions can help you support your body's needs to live your healthiest life. It's an all-natural way to get back to your fighting weight after the holidays. Plus, get energized and sharpen your focus. Veracity's Metabolism Ignite is the #1 doctor-recommended GLP-1 booster and GLP-1 alternative with no side effects and no allergens. Metabolism Ignite is a natural, safe, plant-based aid that results in an 85% reduction in hunger and is clinically proven to help people lose, on average, 9 pounds in 90 days. Imagine you have an amazing holiday season, but you're exhausted and your pants are too tight. Then you try Metabolism Ignite for a few months and boom, you lose the weight and even have enough energy to take the kids skiing. So make the switch to GLP-1s the natural way. Head to veracityselfcare.com and use the code JOJO for up to 45% off your order. Once again, that's veracityselfcare.com for up to 45% off. And make sure you use my promo code JOJO so they know I sent you. Okay, let's get into it now with Harry Dunn. Did you get a chance to eat something? Because I know you're just coming home.
I was eating on the way home. I carry a big ass tub of goldfish around with me, and I fuck goldfish up. Love goldfish, love them.
I love goldfish.
I buy them from Amazon. Not the little bags, but the ones that are like milk cartons.
Yeah, but it's massive.
Yes, I order those, but I order 3 of them a month from Amazon. I fuck them up.
But wait a minute. What flavor goldfish is your favorite? Because there's 1,000. There's 1,000.
I think the one that I like the most it's the extreme cheddar. That is my favorite one. But I mean Parmesan, even the regular ones got to run for their lives when they see me coming. I have never met a goldfish I didn't like.
Any of the flavor blasted ones, I'm happy.
The flavor blasted, yes, the cheddar one, the cheddar flavor blast ones are the bright orange ones. The box, it's so good.
It's that powder, man. It's
so
that powder
good.
That gets you. And I said, I don't sleep on the pizza flavor.
Pizza flavor is so good too. Oh my gosh,
right?
Man. I think I'm gonna switch it up. Now I'm gonna go to Amazon and change my order and get the pizza ones now because I will tear them all up.
We're talking about food because you've had a busy morning and you just got back and you had to eat your travel goldfish. Where were you? You were just on Capitol Hill, right?
Yeah, I was. And actually, at the time we're recording this, the hearing that I attended is still going on. And one of the reasons why it's going on, well, first of all, I'll tell the hearing what it was, is the Homeland Security Committee for the House of Representatives, not the Senate. And they were talking about threats to law enforcement and violence that they've endured. I forget the exact name of the hearing, but that's what it was titled. And obviously, as we all know, the Republicans are in the majority, so they were able to have 3 witnesses, and the Democrats only got 1. We were trying to push that myself and Officer Daniel Hodges could testify before the committee. So I got to go there and support Daniel Hodges and listen to just some of the rhetoric. Well, not even rhetoric. You know what? I won't be closed-minded. Law enforcement, some of the representatives there made some pretty good points. I think that the counterpoint that a lot of the Democrats should have been making is pointing out the hypocrisy, not just saying, hey, y'all support Donald Trump. Y'all support Donald Trump. It's clear that they do 100%. Mm-hmm. So let's talk about the threats to law enforcement and how attacking law enforcement is not okay. Full stop. However, y'all support a person and y'all don't condemn. Talk about the hypocrisy more so than just pointing out Donald Trump. We all know that. Of Daniel Hodges, they're playing footage of him being brutally crushed inside the door on January 6th.
Yeah.
And we just want the same level of outrage towards the people that were responsible for that as you all get when ICE agents are targeted, or
Mhm.
God forbid the attack on the National Guardsmen last week in
Oh
Washington D.C.,
god.
which is horrific.
Yeah.
It should be condemned without having to point out a this or that or but this, but it shouldn't happen. We just
Right.
demand the same level of outrage when it happens to one of your political opponents, so to speak. And I hate the
Correct.
term, because everything's so violent. But going back to the fact, I had to get out of there. They called for a vote, and it's just, all those procedural things,
Yeah.
and those type of hearings, and they got to go round up all the members. So we were just sitting around waiting for a half an hour, just literally sitting there twiddling our thumbs. All right, Danny, I'm gonna get out of here. But just being there
Yeah.
to support my friend Daniel Hodges, in a hostile room, so to speak.
Which thank you for doing that. Obviously, again, like with our friend Sam, I wish I knew you for 10 million other reasons than the reason that I do. I mean, I wish that we just met organically one day, just, like people do, and that it wasn't because you had to endure and Daniel had to endure and Fanone and Ganel and all the others had to endure what you had to endure. But then after enduring that you stood up and spoke out and stood strongly and firmly, not in a political way necessarily, but because that's the thing, my friend, we lose sight of the fact that not everything is political. Not
Right.
everything needs to be political. We can say that it doesn't matter what party you represent. If you're a law enforcement officer,
Yeah.
you should not be subjected to violence at all, period.
Correct.
Hard stop, right?
Yeah, one of the things. So I'm glad you mentioned the non-political thing, because there are a lot of shit that I get political about. I'm very liberal, and I'm very clear about that. And let's talk politics about certain things, and I will tell you why I'm liberal leaning, and I
Hmm.
don't like conservative. We could have those political discussions, but there's some things that aren't political, and that shouldn't be violence against our members of the military or the law enforcement, people that actually are public servants. There's no room for politics in that. There's no room for violence towards anybody, and there should be nothing but condemning and accountability being served for people that commit those acts against them.
Hmm.
But I will say the problem that gets me a lot, and I talked to some of the people in the room there today, is don't you think that if that's the case, well, how about police, law enforcement entities and agencies, the Fraternal Order of Police, the National Sheriff's Organization, the hell, even the national firefighters should not be endorsing political candidates then.
Agreed.
Like, I believe that y'all should be nonpartisan.
Yep.
You all should be not taking any sides and work with any elected official that is there, because the job is to put yourself and your organization in the best position to be successful. Now,
Yeah.
when you have the FOP that over the last 3 times that Donald Trump ran for office endorsed him all 3 times. Now, I don't now in fairness, I do not know who they endorsed. I don't know if they endorsed Barack Obama. I don't know if they before that. I don't know, but I am paying attention now to the last
Hmm.
3 election cycles where they endorsed Donald Trump. So to be transparent with everybody, I'm not just picking sides. But you shouldn't inject yourself in politics, or
Agreed.
if you do, be prepared to endure what comes with it. Is that's
Hmm.
the backlash of supporting somebody like Donald Trump.
Hmm.
So
I
you can't have it both ways.
no.
Either don't politicize me, or you know what? I'm going to jump in it too, and I'm going to politicize ourselves by endorsing political candidates.
Yeah, and the thing too is that let's just say on January 6th, let's take that as an example. What none of you did was think to yourselves, "Oh, I'm not going to protect that member of Congress because I don't like their politics." Because that's what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to protect and serve everyone. Like no firefighter is going to pull up to your house and see you're a registered Democrat and be like, "I'm sorry, I can't put that fire out because we don't align politically." So like if you're right, pick a lane, and you can't have it both ways. But the idea that the Fraternal Order of Police would have endorsed someone who would later pardon all 1,600, right? It was 1,600. Was it 15 or 1,600?
16. Well, I can shit. I don't know, 1,500, but it was more than that. Though.
1,500
It was more.
people. Like
Yeah.
you said, the images of your colleagues, your friends being smushed within an inch of their life in doorways, being beaten with bats and fire extinguishers. Fanon had a heart attack, right?
Yeah.
Like, to see those images and to know that that was perpetrated by real people. We didn't imagine it. It wasn't a hallucination. I didn't get high. I didn't take acid to, this actually fucking happened. And Donald Trump pardoned all of them. Everybody from the top of that rotten fish all the way down to the bottom, to the guy who smeared shit on the walls, to the guy. This is that. How can they endorse? I mean, I know that one came first. They endorsed him, and then he did the pardons. But still, I mean, just the hypocrisy. And I want to make it very clear too. Like, they've co-opted the idea that it's the Republicans who back the blue, and I'm tired of that bullshit too. Because whenever my kids and I see police officers, honest to God, they think I'm fucking annoying. Because I'll say thank you for your service a lot. And, police are pretty cool about it. They're like, oh, thanks for saying that, because they're human beings. But we're going to get to the co-opted part first. But just the hypocrisy of them endorsing someone who turned around and freed all the people who beat the Capitol Police and all the other responders who were there on January 6th, it just makes my blood boil.
Well, yeah. And also on top of that, listen, if you don't agree with at the time Kamala Harris's policies, and that Donald Trump, then just stay out of it.
Yeah.
Just stay out of it. Hey, and obviously I'm not the president of the FOP, but my statement would have been like, we look forward to working with any candidate, well, whoever wins the election, to make sure that the police men and women have the tools necessary to do their jobs and to protect and serve our communities. That literally would have been my statement if I didn't, even if I agree with one of them. That literally doesn't matter who it is, because that's what it should be. But also at the root of it, though, we have to understand that the people that make up these police departments and these unions, and they are members of society who have political views, political opinions. And a lot of times the morals and values that people have as individuals, they transform to how you do your job. So even if you take politics out, like, sure, now, no, we're not going to say I'm a Democrat, I only say Democrats, or I'm a Republican, I'm not helping whatever. We're not saying that. But as far as how you approach the job, or you believe that drug dealers should be, like I saw that Megyn Kelly on her podcast.
Oh my God.
She said that she wants to see these drug dealers killed and blown to pieces, or she wants to see that. Now, that's somebody's right, and that's her moral view, and that's her moral stance. We have people that share those views that are policing these streets. So it transcends how they treat people on the streets. And that's just how people say, well, all cops are bad. No, cops are just people. Cops are just people who make up. They make up society, and they're individuals who carry with them their moral views when they're doing their job, for the worst or for the best at times.
Right. And let's talk about, again, the hypocrisy here, because not only are Republicans trying to like SANE wash and whitewash what happened on January 6th, they're literally trying to erase the history. They won't even put up the plaque. Yeah. And so let's talk about that. What's the status of that? Because you had to sue the House of Representatives, sue Mike Johnson. Who did you have to sue?
So for people that are listening, January 6th, obviously they last Congress, they passed a law saying that they would hang a plaque honoring the men and women who served the Capitol and responded to the Capitol on January 6th. That law, that bill was passed in the House. It was passed by the Senate, and it was signed by Joe Biden. And it was bipartisan too. There were a lot of Republican signatures on, or votes for that bill. Now, that said, the bill's paraphrasing of what the bill said, within 1 year of this date, the architect of the Capitol, who maintains the grounds and was appointed by the president, by the way, and answers to the Speaker of the House, shall enact or erect a plaque honoring the men and women. That's in a nutshell what the legislation says. A year went by, 2 years went by, and the plaque was nowhere to be found. So much to the fact that Mike Johnson, there were rumors through the grapevine saying that, and that's unconfirmed, obviously, But he was what was the holdup, Mike? He was deciding which bathroom he wanted to put the plaque in, just as a
Oh my
show of
God.
desecration. But also, so we sued.
Jesus.
We sued to get the plaque up. Now, who do you sue? You don't sue Mike Johnson because that's not what the legislation says. The legislation says within 1 year of this bill being signed, the architect of the Capitol will place. So the architect is charged with the action of hanging the plaque, and that is who our lawsuit is. The defendant in the lawsuit. Now with the holdup with that, we filed that back in July-ish, I believe. There's all types of motions to delay and drag, get different representation and all these different motions that they do that eventually delay the judicial process. Now, the government shutdown. Also, all litigation was suspended during the government shutdown also. So the latest with our lawsuit is once the government opened back up, the judge is allowing the defense the length of the shutdown plus 5 or 10 business days for the government to answer the lawsuit. And so we're looking at about January where we can get to work and start exploring the merits of this trial.
I mean, it's insane on its
Yeah.
face, my friend.
Yeah.
It's fucking insane. Again, all of this. I'm sorry. Now I'm even hotter than I was before. All of this is to appease one man who wants to strike from the historical record something we all witnessed, you endured. Your friends have the physical and emotional and mental scars of that day. And Mike Johnson et al., they're running interference so that a plaque that commemorates the heroic actions of the officers they claim to support, to back, they're going so far to fight against a simple recognition of heroism that is a law, by the way, just to show you how happily they'll comply with the law. But they're fighting this thing tooth and nail so that Donald Trump doesn't have to see a plaque that recognizes that what we all saw with our own eyes and heard with our own ears and you endured and your friends' bodies are scarred with, that actually happened. That is so fucked up and beyond the pale.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Well, that's what it appears to be. Obviously, and people can have conversations in their living rooms and around their, tabletops or whatever that say, hey, we know what's going on here. But we have to go to the courts and find out the actual facts of why it isn't up. Now, sure, that with his failure to act or inaction in this case, we can speculate. We're only left with speculation. And that's, I guess, the beauty of a lawsuit at the time, because you actually get answers. And that's why you're seeking out. We're seeking out to get answers and a resolution. And the resolution is simply hang the plaque. And it's simple.
Yeah.
The lawsuit is simple. The lawsuit literally says comply with the law.
Yeah.
Or, and that's what the lawsuit said. But my 2 cents on it, okay, comply with the law or change the law. Because the law says we will honor the Capitol Police. All right, remove that from the law.
Yeah.
Remove it then. Exactly. If that's the case, that's the only reason the plaque should not be up is because it's against the law.
Yeah.
So change the law then.
Which would force them to have a vote to say, no, we don't want to honor those police, which is something that they're they won't do because why would anybody do that? They're the ones who back the blue. But let's talk about the premise of the hearing today, because it sounds to me like it was ICE related in terms of the Republicans saying that there's the acts of violence being committed against ICE agents. And I want to talk about that because I want to talk about what ICE is doing and what is happening. And I'm not justifying, I do not, and I will never justify any acts of any kind of violence against anyone undeservedly, not in self-defense, etc. I abhor ICE. I mean, I understand that there are probably, I'm sure there are perfectly good people who serve in ICE, but overarchingly, what we are seeing right now is a lot of people acting barbarically with human beings wearing masks and an ICE badge. And so I want to talk about that because from a former law enforcement officer's perspective, how much further can this go? Because now I don't know if you saw this, our friend Jess Craven posted a video. They arrested 2 American citizen females and bashed in their windows for honking their horn to alert people in their neighborhood that ICE was there. I mean, they're dragging people. They're kneeling on people. They're pushing children. Like, what is your perspective on how far they've gone? How far beyond the guardrails here, but how much further they're going to go and get away with. You know what I mean? Like, this is what scares me.
Well, I'm glad that you brought that up, because right now you ask who can hold them accountable, right?
Yeah.
Who can? And the answer is Congress.
Yeah.
Congress has oversight over the Homeland Security. They have which ICE falls under. They have oversight authority, which is why, like, Kristi Noem not appearing before, or when people have Pam Bondi or Kash Patel appear before these committees, they are disrespectful as hell to the Democratic members who appear to be the only ones that have any desire to hold them accountable.
Yeah.
And why? Because they can get away with it. Because where does it start? Who's the top boss? Donald Trump. Donald Trump sat in the Oval Office back in August when he first allowed or authorized the deployment of the National Guard to Washington, D.C., and stated the following. This is not paraphrasing. Law enforcement, do whatever the hell you want to do. That is a quote from the most powerful man in the country, arguably in the world, enabling and emboldening law enforcement to do whatever they want. Now, let's be clear. There's no there's no acts of violence that should be committed against law enforcement, full stop, period. And if you do, you need to be held accountable. No extenuating circumstances. Keep your fucking hands to yourself, period.
Right. Full
stop. But I also would like to get to the root cause as to why things are happening. Like, let's just not, like, you know, when you have kids, like, how many times can you just keep punishing your kid for doing it over and over and over again, instead of be like, all right, why the hell do you keep going in my room and eating candy? You just want, all right, I will buy your own bag of candy, or whatever the call. Find out what the root cause is. Republicans don't seem to be interested in that, because in the hearing that I was at today, Representative Dan Goldman, I think he brilliantly showed videos of ICE brutalizing communities, physically abusing people in the community, breaking the law, flat out assaulting people, shooting reporters with rubber bullets, pepper spraying peaceful, not even protesters, onlookers.
They shot a priest.
So the thing is, who can hold them accountable? The Republicans can, because Congress can, and who controls Congress? The Republicans. And we've seen what type of backbone and they are showing, because they want to cater to Donald Trump. And Donald Trump is telling them to do. Donald Trump said in an interview with, I believe, ABC, they haven't gone far enough. So if I'm Kristi Noem, I'm thinking, well, shit, we need to do more. Let's beat the hell out of them some more if we haven't done enough. My boss said we are doing enough. If I'm Kristi Noem, those are my words to my agents.
Yeah.
So now they're emboldened, they're entitled, and how do we stop them? Honestly, outside of lawsuits and civil lawsuits and stuff, with the DOJ, Pam Bondi's not going to go prosecute the ICE agents. She's not. No. She's the only one that's capable of doing so. Now, unless they're creating obviously doing state crimes, committing state crimes, then sure, then that falls under the state's attorney general. But outside of that, who can hold them accountable? That's why elections have consequences. And people, we say that, but people don't understand what it means until it's too late. Elections have consequences, and we will continue to get these things and have no oversight, no accountability until Democrats appear to be the only one interested in serving accountability and oversight to these ICE agents.
Yeah, and on that note, it is interesting because, I mean, here in New Jersey, we just elected for the third time a Democrat for governor. This is very unusual in New Jersey. For three, yes, right. Yes, 3 terms in New Jersey with the same party at the top is very unusual for us. But this was a referendum, and she won in historic numbers. There's a town in my district that went Trump I think 18 points. Mikey won it by 10. So, like, and what we saw in Tennessee 7 last night was closing a gap from a plus 22 Trump district to the Republican winning by less than 9, because people are starting to understand. Unfortunately, to your point with children, sometimes as a parent, I could tell my kid 500 times, don't touch that. Don't put your finger on that. Don't put that fork in that outlet. I can tell them all this stuff 100 times, but until they do it, until they burn their finger, until they've cut themselves, like my son with cutting avocados in his fucking hand, dude, like until that happens, him in the cans, he cut open his hand because he wasn't listening to me about the can. They have to cut themselves. They have to burn themselves. They have to feel it. No one wants that, but they have to. And what we're looking at right now nationally is this massive pendulum swing back, because he's hurting his own voters. He went to the Supreme Court to make sure that 42 million people couldn't eat, many of whom, the majority of whom, were his voters. But we are looking at...
Well, shit, you see the latest now that he's threatening to cut off SNAP benefits to only Democratic states now.
Yes. Brooke, but what's her fuck talked about that in that unhinged cabinet meeting yesterday, where he was literally snore farting because this is what we deal with. That's reality. She blessed God, my friend. She blessed God that Donald Trump has been able to get 800,000 people off of SNAP, and then said that the states that won't report more information, more private information, more bullshit ways to track Americans. I mean, I remember when they used to say Obama was spying on me through my dishwasher, whatever. If those states won't comply, California, again, these are blue states, but these are not states that are comprised only of Democrats. So these are their own voters too, that they will not give them SNAP benefits at all. So this is the game that they're playing. But I will say it's so gross that the American people who are now feeling it, who are sticking their fork in the outlet, like, holy shit, that hurts. They're like, no. So, I mean, knock on wood, I have more faith than I probably should that we will have free and fair midterm elections. But and it's only getting worse. Donald Trump's approval rating now is lower than everyone ever in history at this point, except for Richard Nixon, and not by much. I think the pendulum swing back. I think when we get the House, and we could even get the Senate with the math that we're looking at, true accountability is what is on the table. Drag fucking Pete Hegseth into that chair in Congress and make him testify about this double tap strike he first denied and then said, oh yeah, it happened, and then said he didn't see it, and all that bullshit. War crimes. I want Kristi Noem. I want Kash Patel. I want Pete Hegseth. I want them all to sit in that chair, and I want accountability for Donald Trump, who's made himself a near trillionaire at this point with how much money he's stolen. And I want, and he's threatening your pardon again, by the way. They continue to dangle that shit. I want accountability, and I honestly believe this. We talk about hope. I know you always try to have a hopeful bent, but a realistic one.
I try.
Like, and the midterms scare the shit out of me because, like, on one hand, I know what hinges on it in a good way, but on the other hand, I know what hinges on it in a bad way, and I feel like that's the death knell for this country and for democracy. But what are your thoughts about the midterms? And if anything gives you hope, what is it?
Well, that's the thing. I always tell people this, like, I don't know if things are going to work out. I don't know. Everybody says, oh, well, a lot of people that are trying to be comforters, God bless their hearts. They say everything's going to be okay. I don't know. I can't tell somebody everything's going to be okay and in good faith. Know that I'm telling them the truth, because I don't know. I thought that everything was going to be okay after January 6th, and we were going to hold Donald Trump accountable. I thought that we were going to be okay, and Kamala Harris was going to win the election. And I thought that we were going to be okay, and the Supreme Court would not give full blanket king immunity to Donald Trump. I thought we were going to be okay, but we didn't. But the persistence that I have, the desire to keep showing up, is because what's the alternative? Just laying down and accepting it? I don't have that in me. I'm not going to just let them just roll over. I may lose. I don't know. We may lose, but it's not going to be because of lack of effort. And you got to keep showing up, because I do know we will lose if we don't show up. So at least showing up gives us a chance. And that's all that I can ask for. Just give us a chance. Some people, when they're applying for jobs or when they want to make the team or some coach, just give me a chance. If I suck, Don't put me back in. But that people just want a chance to just prove and show. And I think that we are so much better than this. We had an opportunity to show, we failed that assignment. We showed who we are. But I believe that we deserve better than what we're experiencing now. So that's what gives me the hope that, because if you don't have hope, you don't have anything.
Yeah. And the thing too is that for so many of us, we're modeling behavior for our kids.
Mhm.
Like, I don't want my children to look back at this time and say, my mom didn't do anything. Like, my mom didn't care. She was just sitting there accepting this fate that they handed me, and you've got a daughter, and this is bigger than just us. And does she know? Does she ever talk to you about politics? Because my little Abby is very activated now.
Not really, but you know what? We got to give our kids credit, yours and mine, more credit than they deserve. They're paying attention. They see everything that's going on, whether they speak on it or not. Kids are smart. Kids are very observant, and
Yeah.
that's one of the main things we hope that we are saying. You hear so many people saying, "Oh man, I am going to do so much better than my parents did me," or "Oh, I'm not going to be the type of mother or father that mine was to me." I want to be that example, that I want to be like my father, or I want to be like this. I want to be, just lay down an example of somebody that somebody could be proud of,
Hmm.
and not just by laying over. And that doesn't happen by just sitting around and hoping that everything works out. You could do something, whether people, like you just talked about the last election in New Jersey, whether people that lived in Tennessee or Kansas or California picked up the phone and made 5 phone calls telling people you can do something. And I feel like everybody got to do a little bit of something now if we want better. It can't just
Yeah.
be everybody waiting around for who's the hero, and everybody's talking about 2028. Who's going to save us? Who's going to run for president? It don't matter. It don't matter.
Yeah.
Get up and do your part.
Yeah. As our fellow contributor at the Siren, Jill Jonathan, says all the time, if we all do a little bit, then no one has to do it all. And that's
Hello,
really the truth.
that's a good shout out to Jill for that.
Oh, she's full of these beautiful
Yeah.
little statements that I hold on to with both hands, because they
Yeah.
give me such clarity, and it's true. Well, you are a cup filler, sir. You caught me in a mood last night.
My cup is filled with bourbon.
Yeah.
It ain't far away, It's all cup filler, all right.
Well, that's a shout out to your podcast, Pours and Perspectives, on
Where's
the
your
Siren
perspective,
Network.
baby?
Yeah, we have had drinks in person, friends, and Harry, you can drink. I'm not a lightweight by any stretch, but I get to a point where I'm like, oh no, I've had too much now, and then it's lights out. But yes, you are truly a figurative and literal cup filler, and you last night, full disclosure, like, you called to talk about this or something else, and I was crying. I was in a place, so you helped me get out of it, and talking to you always cheers me up. So thank you, as always.
Of course, of course, of course. I'm happy to. You got to, and it's just be a good person. It's just simple. Like, how
Yeah.
hard? How was that a hard concept to get? Listen, if I am Donald Trump, it would drive me crazy that people can't wait until the day I no longer exist. Like,
Right?
just as a person, did that make you feel shitty? If you like, people are waiting for me to die and they're going to sell, that would make me, just as a person, not even just anybody.
Yeah.
That would make me want to, damn, maybe I need to reconsider. What the hell?
Yeah.
There's literally a countdown. Like, people are wagering on when like, that would make me reconsider my motives, my life. I'd have to look back over my life and be like, yo, I effed up.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, we just pose a question like, how will you feel when he dies? And everyone knows who you mean. Everyone knows who you mean.
That as a person, that's got to make you feel shitty.
Yeah, I don't know if he's that self-aware. I mean, again,
Man,
but he makes everyone around him the worst versions of themselves too. Like he makes Pete Hegseth worse than Pete Hegseth. These are bad people, but like that's his special talent is he gave MAGA and the base license to be the worst versions of themselves, and that's very intoxicating. And people like Marco Rubio is the worst version of himself, and like that's what he does. Like that's the magic of him, and it's so toxic, and it's so dismantling, and it's so gross. And I haven't even spoken publicly about him using the R word slur. I've tweeted about it. I've posted about it. I haven't talked about it. And he doubled down on it. And like this is the president of the United States. Should the bar not be a little bit higher that you don't use slurs like that at all? You don't use slurs,
real quick,
period.
about that slur, I'm glad you brought that up because, kudos to the Indiana senator, state senator, I believe, that said that was his breaking off point. But if that's what it's because it personally affects you.
Yeah.
What about all the other things that he's done to offend other people? That's not enough for you? Like, I mean, good for him for taking a stance and saying, hey, this is wrong and calling it out. Good for you. Good for you. But like I said, to start this show, I wish everybody, Republicans, was up in arms just as much when it happened to them or when it happened to other people, instead of waiting till it happens to you to be up in arms about it. Because it's just a matter of time before it happens to you.
It's 100% true. I mean, he calls women piggy, and no one stands up for her. Like, come on, people, remember, like you said, be a good person. Because there are laws that govern our behavior, and then there are just expectations and agreements that we make, social contracts that we make with each other, and those are actually the things that keep our society on track. It's not the police officers, the fire department, it's not the FBI, it's not the government. It's these contracts we have with each other, which is like you don't run a red light, you don't call someone an R slur, you don't grab a woman by the pussy. These are things you just don't do. And Donald Trump comes into this social network of norms, and like a bull in a china shop, he just runs through everything. And Republicans are like,
that's just how he is.
Yeah, but you can't shrug about one thing because, like you said, then everything else is okay. And if it shouldn't have to be personal for you. I'm glad that he spoke out, but it shouldn't have to hit you personally for you to know what's right or wrong, because someone else's child is out there impacted by this stuff too. Well, again, thank you, Harry, as always, for all your time and for the energy that you bring into this world. It's just powerful, and it's an inspiration. So it makes me feel so much better and so much stronger and so much lighter and all the things.
Of course, my friend. Thank you for being my friend, and thank you for having me on with SANE-ish.
Let's go. Okay, Harry, we'll see you next time.
All right, thanks, Joe.
That's it for today's show. If you liked this episode and Goldfish, make sure you are following SANE-ish wherever you listen. Please leave a rating, drop a review, send it to that one relative who still thinks both sides are the problem. I'm Joe, and until next time, stay loud, stay stubborn, and stay sane-ish.